Have you ever heard the MCG like that? Are you kidding me? Yeah, are you kidding me? The Carlton gods must be crazy.
Hello, ladies and gents, and welcome back to Bluebaggers Edge, and we are back to preview the St Kilda clash coming up on Friday, 9th of May. And we find ourselves in a familiar territory where we have to rebound and recapture some form that we've now lost for whatever reason. Makes no sense, but we find ourselves here again. Difference this time around compared to the previous encounters against the Saints is we are finally playing at our traditional home ground, the MCG, not at Marvel, where they get the advantage, and despite the fact that it's our home game, it makes a complete mockery of us. And every time we play the Saints, I'm like, they get the advantage. They play at Marvel better than us more often than not. And we've seen across the previous few games here, dating back to 2023, where the Saints beat us by 22 points. More recently, we beat them by 19 points. And then most recently, last year, of course, we all know it, round 24, of course, last game of the season, when we were sunk by Jack Higgins, snapped around the body, out of a stoppage, we fell short by 2 points at the death. So we know it all too well. Let's go through some team stats in terms of averages, and must say it's pretty even across the board. St Kilda are a team that they're kind of a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde as well. When they've been performing quite well, like they did against the Cats, I think it was, they can really beat teams on their day, take teams by surprise. And we've done likewise as well. We beat the Cats. We actually performed our best against them. And as you can see here, disposals-wise, very, very similar. Kicks, handballs, inside 50s. We actually have 6 more inside 50s than the Saints. Very similar disposal efficiency there. Efficiency inside 50. The Saints are actually 8% more efficient than us inside 50. No real surprise, I don't think. Stoppage-wise, very similar with hit-outs 34 for us, 32 to the Saints. Clearance-wise, very, very similar, 38.4 the Saints to us, 40.9. Center clearances are almost identical. We're up by 0.1. Stoppage clearances, we have a few more, 2.4. Contested possessions are in our favour, almost to the tune of 10%. 10 more, should say. Uncontested possessions, more in the favour of the Saints. Turnover is very similar, 64 to us, 63 to the Saints. Marks, we actually average more marks to the tune of almost 8. Marks inside 50, very similar, 11.3 for us, 12.1 for the Saints. Contested marks, now this is a big thing for us that we've really been having a bit of an issue with against opposition teams, but compared to the Saints, we average more than double. 11.8 to their 5.8. Scoring-wise, very similar again, 12 to us, 12.9 to the Saints, and behind's 11.5 for us, and St Kilda 10.1. Defensively, we actually apply more tackles, 7.3 more than the Saints. Tackles inside 50, we apply 3.1 more than the Saints. And 1%ers, that's always a good thing to look at as well. That indicates work rate and, second, third efforts, all that sort of stuff. 42.8 to us, 38.1 for the Saints. Let's have a little bit more of a deep dive in terms of looking at, discrepancies and how we average in terms of score sources in comparison to the Saints. And have a look at as well what both teams concede and see if there's a little bit of an area that we can really get on top of, which we should have, in theory, against the Crows when we were talking about scoring via turnovers, but also, really having an edge in the engine room, which did not come to pass. So for score sources, for us in terms of turnovers, we actually only have, 3, 4, 5, the 5th most scores via turnover, whilst the Saints, they have 6, 7, 8, 9. So they have 4 positions ahead of us in terms of score sources via turnover. Stoppage-wise, we're actually 1 rank ahead of the season average with 36. The Saints, they're 2 spots ahead of us. Score sources via kick-ins. The Saints actually average 4 positions less than us. We average 3.8, the Saints 3.1. Now let's have a look at the opposition averages as well. So pretty even across the board there. Let's have a look at score sources to opposition teams via kick-ins. And we concede the third most, which is very concerning, via kick-ins. Just going from end to end is something that we saw we were struggling with, especially against West Coast. And we haven't tightened up in that respect there. So 6.4. The Saints, they average 5.1. So they're 3 spots behind us. Score sources to opposition teams via stoppages. We're actually pretty good in terms of really disallowing teams to score via stoppages. We were actually, I think, ranked second last week heading into the Crows game off the back of the Crows smashing us through score sources, through stoppages. We've now drifted to the 5th best, whereas the Saints, they're actually the 6th worst. Score sources via turnover to opposition teams. We, surprisingly, only concede the 3rd least compared to the Saints, and they are the 5th worst, conceding 49.4. Let's have a look at the last 5 games just quickly and see how we go there. So, yeah, turnovers to opposition teams, we concede the least, which is surprising. That would have been less than that, but the Crows, of course, exposed us for that. Don't know how they did, but to their credit, they did. Just with the Saints, they concede the 6th most. So that's really an area that we can really capitalise. And we should, in theory, if we are clean with the footy and we are applying that pressure rating that we want and the tackling pressure, we should be able to score via that avenue. Stoppages. The Saints, they concede the 4th most via stoppages. We concede the, 3, 6, 7th least. So less than the AFL average, which is good. And score sources via kicking, as I said, in recent weeks, has been pretty poor. We concede the 4th most, and the Saints, they concede the 7th most. So very similar there. So, I mean, it's good to look at in theory, but unless we're applying ourselves and we get back to the form that we showed against the Cats, it's all well and good to look at these. But the side has to get back to really earning their stripes. The engine room has to pull their socks up. Just not good enough. The small forwards, apart from Corey Durden, who can hold his head high, all those other guys, lacking. Defensively, and we really did miss Sauce, and that's one guy who I didn't speak about in the review episode chatting about the Adelaide game, but he was sorely missed for sure. But thank you, as always, for tuning in. Really do appreciate it. Expectations against the Saints, we just want to get a win. We're almost back at that point where we need to win dirty, like we did against West Coast. But the Saints are on a very similar path to us, where they've been Jekyll and Hyde. They haven't been performing consistently enough. And when they have been performing well enough, they've been actually looking pretty good. They played a really, really rotten game against Freo, playing that defensive style, and Freo were unable to push through it. I don't think Freo really have the attacking arsenal. When they apply themselves defensively to try and counter St Kilda, they just weren't able to overcome it. I think we can. Just hopefully it's an okay spectacle and Ross doesn't descend into just parking the bus virtually and playing a really defensive game, which he probably might, to try and counter Charlie, Harry, and get on top of us that way. But we just hope for a half-decent encounter and we come away with the dub, because we need to find that consistency in our game. I don't know what the secret is, but we need to find it. But thank you, as always, for tuning in. Really do appreciate it, as always, and we'll see you in the next one. Go Baggers.
Have you ever heard